Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Saad Idris and I'll be hosting this session. Welcome to another very exciting, very interesting fireside chat. We have a very special guest with us today. Honored and privileged to be hosting Mr. Zain Jeewanjee of the G1G fame from North America and from the United States in particular. Um, Let me just kick off the session right here. Zen has actually been an entrepreneur and has been building businesses, solving problems in Pakistan and in North America as well since, I don't know about you guys, but at least before I was born. So over 3 decades now. And, he's been generating like tons and tons of value and, across different sectors from the fashion industry, building one of the first fashion labels brands in Pakistan, and all the way to insurance, and I'm sure tons of stuff in the middle as well. Um, I think he's ever since the late 80s and the early 90s, Zan has been very deeply entrenched in the insurance sector in the United States and in North America, and has generated millions in value for that particular sector in the United States, specifically under travel insurance and a number of other products, and has really built a name and built an empire within that particular sector. But I think like what's even more important and more significant, and also is possibly not really quantifiable, is the kind of value that Zan himself and Zan has helped generate by developing or building enabling ecosystems, platforms, and environments such as the Indus Entrepreneurs, Thai. He was one of the founding members in its mother chapter in the Silicon Valley in the United States, and was also the founder for Thai in Lahore and in Karachi, and a number of open chapters as well across North America and Pakistan, with other titans of the industry, such as Sayyid Babar Ali and a number of others. So we're very, very excited to be speaking to him today, and very honored that he's taken the time to speak to us. So without further ado, hi Zain, how's it going?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Saad?
I'm well. Thank you so much for taking out the time. I know that it's super early where you are, but I also believe you're part of the 4 a.m. club. Am I right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Have you already had your morning couple of coffees, or is it
Uh,
still you?
Tea and cheers to you. Tea is on. Yes, a couple of
Right.
people already gone in. I think.
All right.
I think.
Fantastic.
I think Saad, 1/3 of the world's population was given the secret 1,600 years ago to be the
Hmm.
4 o'clock club, a 4 a.m. club.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that 1/3 of the world's population is kind of lame today. They don't follow those principles of the 4 a.m. club.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Actually, I'd love to kind of, get into that and get into, the kind of routine that you have, because I feel like it's a very interesting perspective, especially when you're, part of the diaspora, for, if you're a Pakistani, if you're from pretty much any other place, I feel like that brings a huge insight and a very fresh perspective as far as like the values and the rituals, like you said, that we, otherwise just kind of take for granted. But just to kind of bring everyone on the same page, like I know we've spoken to one another, and we've obviously kind of learned a lot about you. But just to kind of bring everyone onto the same page, can you I know this is going to be super hard, but can you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started in the entrepreneurial business, and how you kind of evolved to being where you are right now? And I think like this is especially challenging because I feel like you're also kind of you're inheriting a huge legacy with your family and with your family name. So yeah, like I'd be interested in learning about how you're going to condense that story and share it with everyone.
okay, so and one of my fallacies or problems is that I talk too much and don't let anybody talk. So I'll try and condense it into a little short time. So I was born in Kenya, East Africa. My grandfather had migrated there in 1850s. We had a store in, I believe it's in Bori Bazaar or somewhere in Karachi. And he had a fight with his father on some arguments. And on the age of 21, 22, something like that, he stowed away on a boat to Australia. He overheard some generals, British generals, talking about it. They're having difficulty in getting labor in Africa to lay railroads. So long story short, he somehow got to Kenya, made a deal with the British, with the East India Company, and he got a contract to lay the railroads in Africa. And if you look at Times of India's article in September 3 years ago, they talk about Sharab Modi, the movie producer, that lots of Indians migrated as train and railroad workers to Africa. And they talk about Sharab Modi's father was actually one of the captains of a train. And then it mentions my grandfather's name, G1G, had 38,000 Indian workers imported into Kenya to lay railroads in Africa. And this was 1897. Then fast forward to my birth. I was born in Kenya and migrated to Karachi in 1960. At the age of about 5 years, I went to grammar school, Karachi Grammar School. And in 71, Pakistan, had a tuffle with India, and East Pakistan became Bangladesh, for those of you who may not have been born at that time. And we were in Karachi living, and part of our support used to come from my Nana, Nurdin Tapal, who used to, take care of us. And there was a lot of ruffle, and a lot of industrialists were hurt pretty bad because Bhutto came in and nationalized a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was at that time 15 and a half years old. I just finished my O levels from Karachi Grammar School. And I thought I'd go and support my family somehow. Instead of going abroad like everybody else did for education, I thought I'd do something about it. And I had a Levi's jacket with me, that had a denim Levi's jacket. And this is early 1970 or 71, early January, February. And I thought I'll make a copy. One of my friends, Murtaza Hassan, wanted a copy of that. So we went and made a copy of it. I went to my tailor and I got kapda kya, and he didn't know what the fabric was, denim. We didn't know what denim was at that time in Pakistan. So we went to Asian Nizamuddin and Sons, a tent manufacturer, a friend of mine, got some canvas from there, dipped it in blue ink, and we made a copy of the jacket.
Sure.
Fast forward 10 years from there, we became one of the trendiest fashion clothing store boutique for men in Pakistan. The name was Shaft. This, ironically, Tanveer Jamshed was TJ's, was 6 months after me. We were the first men's clothing boutique in Pakistan in that concept. Right. Then we started ready-made shalwar kameezes, and we just became a hotshot thing. If you know the trend of the latte ka shalwar kameez and silk jacket, that trend was started by a very unknown name, who would bring a whole bunch of silk, yards and yards, at the age of 16. He was 16 years old, and he'd bring yards and yards of silk, he'd bring yards and yards of latta, and he'd say, all my friends make clothes for all of them. This unknown man became a very close friend of ours because he was in grammar school with me before he went off to Petara at the 7th grade. Asif Zardari then started trending this shalwar kameez out to all his friends, and we became the trend getter. So the shalwar kameez and latte ki shalwar kameez and koti design was started by Mr. Zardari himself. He designed it first. In 79, I got married to my wife Farzana, and we had my first child named Misbah. And as I told the phenomenal cricketer Misbah Haq last July in Chicago, I told him, I said, I know why you're tuk-tuk, because my Misbah is my daughter's name. You play like my daughter that would have. So Misbah was diagnosed with a problem, and she passed away at the age of 6 months. 3-4 months later, after that, my mother passed away. She had gone to an hospital that was in defense called Mideast, and she went for a knee problem. They I don't know what they did. They killed her. Then my daughter was born, Zainab, who lives in Silicon Valley with us, runs one of my companies. And then my father, who suffered from emphysema, passed away. And then my third child was born, Ali. And you have to imagine that I started my business in 1971. This is 1983. 13 years. I'm the trend of Pakistan. We're doing phenomenal things. I'm only 22 years old. I'm a kid, but I'm doing phenomenal stuff, written about in Sun, everywhere. So the prime of my life. And Ali was diagnosed with the same problem that my first child died with. So we decided to trend him and bring him over to the US. So imagine, and I tell everybody I'm the luckiest man on planet Earth. And mashallah, touch wood, I am. I'm very lucky. मैं कुछ सोचता हूँ तो उससे पहले वो चीज़ पूरी हो जाती है. I'm writing a book. It's called I Get Everything in Life 3 Days Before I Need It. And this is really true. This is really true. Everything I get in my life is 3 days before I need it. If I need something, it really happens. And something happened yesterday, which is phenomenal also, which I'll tell you that later. But anyway, so I land up in America. We bring Ali for treatment here. And 6 months later, he passes away. The day he passes, 2 days before that, I was in a car accident. I'm sitting in a hospital, all bandaged up. My wife walks in and says, we lost Ali, and we'll have to go and bury him. So those 2.5, 3 years, I lost my son, my mother, my father, my daughter, and I'm now thrust in a brand new world called Silicon Valley. It wasn't called Silicon Valley in 1983. It was known as San Jose. And I'm there. And this is how luck has a part to play. I was left with about $120,000 in bills, which at that time I could have bought the Google campus today in Silicon Valley. And I decided I've got to pay those bills. So Puri Raat, I used to work at the gas station. I was not legal to work. Those days you'd get a social security number. It said not valid for employment. I would work at a gas station and then I'm pumping gas. Remember, I'm a O-level guy, educated, Cambridge affiliated, but I'm working at the gas station all night. And then in the mornings, I'd take odd jobs because we had these bills to pay. And I decided in 84, 85, I decided that there should be a need out there of people like me that need medical care. When they travel to the US. So we created a company called Travel Insurance. I worked with a insurance carrier, Seabreen Smith, and creatively created the first product in the US to cover foreign nationals who would come into the US under travel insurance. And we created a word called visitors insurance, synonymous, created by us. What I didn't know, what I didn't realize, and there's an article somewhere in CNN or Forbes or somewhere that they wrote an article of me and they said, Mr. Jeewanjee was a genius who thought of this explosion on the Silicon Valley and created this product. That's really not true. The truth is I created a product 3 days before I needed it. And suddenly the Silicon Valley was about to explode with immigrants opening up companies, not insuring the spouses, cheapos, just insuring this employee. So the spouse would come on an H-4 visa. It's a kind of a visa given temporary visa to people who come in the country, and they would not have a social security number, so they could not buy any insurance. मैंने कंपनी एक छोटी सी एक गांव के अंदर छोटी सी एक 100 स्क्वायर में खोली जिसमें ये प्रोडक्ट ऑलरेडी 3-4 साल पहले बना लिया. It's tested its time, created a, so voila, we became. We insured Google, I think, all the way till 2002 or something. Something like Google international benefits. We did.
And you specifically designed this product because, like, you yourself personally had faced this, problem.
Correct.
While you were coming out. Interesting. All right.
So the things that so how did I get? So my first clothing was because I was good at clothing. I wanted a jacket made, and I made a copy of it. Right, dipped it in blue ink and did it. My second company was this one because I needed medical care for my son, so I created a company on that need. And then over the years, I've created things that for need basis, and they've turned out to be awesome products or services in the insurance industry. in general.
Interesting.
So that's basically in a
But
nutshell.
yeah, but tell me something. So I mean, definitely, luck has a huge part to play, and I feel like any entrepreneur, regardless of small or large scale, and where they are in their journey, I'm just going to kind of swear by the kind of opportunities that luck presents as you're kind of moving along. But like if you had to, I mean, if we were to assume you had to give advice to someone who wasn't as lucky as you feel, there has to be a formula, right? Like you were also kind of deeply entrenched, deeply empathetic, experiencing one problem at a time and trying to figure out solutions and being smart about it and trying to get ahead. And that was giving you the 3-day advantage, as you put it. So, like, what's the formula there? Like, how should people be tackling these issues? Because, like, it feels like a lot of the people that we speak to, especially in this particular region, like a lot of it is just like imitation going on. There's not a lot of like innovation, new technology, new kinds of products coming out. It's just something is working in Africa, in India, in other parts of the world, and you just kind of bring it home and try to kind of do a good job with. But how can people get ahead of the curve there? How can you look into the future a little bit?
Amazing question, and thank you, Asad, because this is the key differentiator in innovation versus creation. So you can innovate a lot of things, but how do you create something brand new? Um, First, you have to venture into space where nobody's there. So don't fear. अगर कोई कहता है कि this nobody's done. पहले किसी
Sure.
ने क्यों नहीं किया? That doesn't matter. Just go do it, because all the more reason you need to do it. Do not fear whether your success is not your success should not be how much money you'll make out of it. It should be how many problems will we solve with that. Is it
Right.
are you coming to a solution? So the first basis of everything that I've created, and I'll tell you jokes along the way that have happened in life, and it's luck also. A lot of with me, it's luck. Um, if there is a need, that old saying, mother of invention is the creation of every need, right? So if there's a need out there, you'll invent something. So make sure that the need, it doesn't have to be big or small. There's enough people you think will need this. If you focus on that and then take out all the pain points. So if you get up in the morning, if I was 16 years old when I started my first company, what I did is I said, what are things in clothing today that I need are not available when I go to Bandar or Tariq Road and I don't get it.
Sure.
Let's create that, because if I need it, then others will need it.
Mm.
So in the same token, if I'm now looking at a solution, when I get up in the morning and I go to my car and I open my door and the door doesn't open, I'll figure out how do we create this door to open. So think
Sure.
freely.
Yeah.
Don't figure out how you'll solve the problem. Think of the pain first. Once you get to the pain, and if the pain is big enough and there's enough people in that pain, you can then create. Second point I'll give you is do not discount quality and delivery. If you look at the iPhone, I actually, when you open the iPhone box up,
Sure. Yeah.
right, you just open the box up, it gives you, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
the details. Don't shortchange. And because this audience, a huge audience of today's portion might be from people from South Asia, don't discount. I often tell people that work with me, I say, don't tell me 8 hours or 4 hours, 6 hours I worked. Did you really get the job done? I've got a 5-year-old grandson, Zakir. He's 5 years old. आप उसको भी फोन पर करें और उसको पूछें, ये just started this that once a job begun, just say this word, He'll tell you this. 5-year-old, he'll say, once a job begun, leave it not till it's done. Now, no matter how big or small, you do it well or not at all. If there are any entrepreneurs in here, please write this down. Once a job begun, leave it not till it's done. No matter how big or small, you do it well or don't do it at all. Don't bring it to the finish because you want to get to the finish line. Bring it with, when you're running through it, go with class and style.
Yeah.
No, make sure that your product is just something that wants, because Rolls-Royce, Teslas, BMW 650s, and Honda Civics all have markets. And they'll all sell.
Sure. Yeah.
But where do you want to be? You want to be the guy who designed the next Ferrari.
Sure.
Quality.
Sure.
I think that's
interesting. So what do you think about the other school of thought, which is, and this also kind of begins to get a little complicated, and sometimes I feel like it needs to be tempered to some extent, at least for me personally. So like I try to look at things, kind of at a bit of a micro angle, getting into the details, trying to make sure that the quality is all there. We launch when we're 100% ready. The experience needs to be perfect, etc., etc. And at some points, I basically need to kind of reel myself in, and also try to kind of create that balance between my this kind of pursuit for perfectionism to get in the way of delivery. You know what I mean? And I think like Seth Godin talks about this a lot, where he says that you really need to kind of shift the work, ship it out whenever you feel like the first minimum viable product is done. How do you kind of temper those two? Because like there's that one approach of trying to create a Rolls Royce and spending like a month creating per car, or a week creating per car and then delivering it. And then there's the Volkswagen, where you're just kind of pumping it out. It's a mass market product. You're just kind of putting it out there, or if you're operating in fast fashion. Do you feel like both of these approaches work, or do you feel like there's a middle ground somewhere that kind of unites the two?
I think there's a middle ground, right? So you really can't delay. So one of my very close friends and now partner, Zain Khan, early Googler, he tells me, we've been working on a platform, a SaaS model platform for the insurance industry. And it's now been about 8 years in the making. And it's because I'll go and I'll say, and he says, listen, let's get a phase 1 and then go to phase 2.
Right.
And he's absolutely right, because my product would have been probably 5 years ago or 6 years ago launched. The insurance tech company is being funded 20 billion, 30, 200 million, 100 million on these. We have customers. We have about 1,100 customers on that model right now, that agency that we're working on. But we haven't scaled because I haven't let it launch completely till it gets to perfection. And I stand, and by the way, there's a song by Paul Anka, written by Paul Anka, sung by Frank Sinatra. It's called My Way. And I've lived my entire life my way. Was Ziddi, Akru, do it my way, or it's highway. I do everything my way. Do I make mistakes? I make just as many mistakes, probably more than anyone in this panel, anywhere around, anywhere on the globe. I make more mistakes. But because I keep doing it, eventually you will succeed. Perseverance, right? So I would think maybe you need to have a middle. You have to have a middle where you say, let's launch this product, let's go on perfection or terega. But in my thought, you have to deliver to perfection. Now, long-term, perfection wins. Right?
Yeah. So if you're really investing your energy and time in the little things, in the details, that's going to
remember
at the end of the day.
People remember the sensational feeling of a thing lasting forever.
Sure.
And they pay tons more for that product that is, right? Forever. Some brands, you look at brands that are for generations, right? For years, centuries. Because
that's true.
Perfection. Now, Apple, I mean, really, ये कितने का ये $1,000 का जो Probably you go, $10 come any proposal, $20, $40, $40 of them, right? Why do you
Sure.
pay $1,000 for an iPhone? Why do you pay $1,000, right? Profession.
Hmm.
So
That's true. That's true. Very interesting. So tell me something. So I'm sure once you got into the insurance game, back when you moved to the United States, I'm sure that kind of opened up like this universe of opportunities and kept opening one door after the other, and you started getting deeper and deeper into that particular sector. But if you were graduating, let's say high school in your case, or college today, and kind of looking at all right, I'm done, and let's do something interesting. What do you feel are like some of the more exciting spaces that if you could do over, you would get into, or that you'd like people in Pakistan, in North America, wherever, to kind of look at and to get deeper into, or that would add value?
So it's different for different areas of the world because your accessibility, what you can sell, what you can market is different, right?
Sure.
So in the US, you can do anything and be successful because it gives you the environment. If you look at South Asians outside South Asia itself, and I'm going to keep India on the side right now and talk more about Pakistan, because India has taken off, and in many ways it has arrived in this entrepreneurial spirit things, right? Pakistan is just taking off right now. Pakistan has a much better pivot because you already have the roadmap how to do it, right?
Right.
So having
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
so somebody who's college grad right now is coming out. First of all, open your vision up. You've got to think big and say, I can do anything. Make sure you take education not only for the skill of learning, but for the skill of knowing. समझो क्या पढ़ रहे हो, ratification नहीं करना. Understand, and then dive into it and see what have I learned today that I can do this a little better.
Right.
Don't do something that Zain did at travel insurance. I should do travel insurance. Zain did a technology company. I should do a technology company. Look, he's made so much money. You are the next inspiration that you will 50 years from now be talking at Daftarkhwan and on your side. And no matter what you do, be ready to fail and fail and fail. Just last night at about 10 o'clock, I usually go to sleep at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the night. And 2 nights ago, there was somebody in my house wanting to get signatures on something done because it had to be delivered next morning. He must have gone back at about 11 o'clock in the night. Next morning, at about 4 o'clock, he texted me, he said, we need one more signature. This gentleman doesn't know how to do it. Very successful man, but it had to be done.
Sure.
So when you're coming out of college, think once the job begun, leave it not till it's done. No matter how big or small, I do it well. Keep integrity and honesty of your mind in there. Don't shortchange anything. Do everything to the best. I remember my daughter was working in Washington, D.C. as an internship position somewhere, the Carlyle Group or somewhere. And she called me one day and she said, Dad, it's 8 o'clock. I have to leave at 8 o'clock, but I haven't finished my task. I said, simply clock out, but sit at your desk and finish it. Right. She said, Dad, I said, just do that. So don't think I'll get paid only till 8 o'clock, but I haven't finished the job. But clock out. Don't charge. Why? And this is for the difference in Silicon Valley versus the rest of the world, I think.
Sure.
If you've got to go from Lahore to Karachi, it's about an 18-hour drive. 18, 20 hours. I don't know what it is, but let's say.
Yeah, it is. It's about that.
About 20 hours, right? Sure. Some of those frequently, I would do probably rarely, right? So if I come in, it might take me 22 hours.
Sure.
Let's say I take 40 hours to get there and you do it in 20 hours. That means I was loafing around somewhere.
Sure. Sure.
So many people, when you're doing outsourcing in Pakistan today, the dilemma why other countries like Philippines, India, Ukraine are getting those work and not Pakistan is because you take 40 hours to do the 20-hour job, but you want the same salary as a 20-hour job. If I pay you $100 an hour to do that 20-hour ride, and you pay me 100 hours, you paid me $200 for that. $200, roughly double. So my values come down. Yeah. And this is a dilemma in Pakistan going on right now. Fresh grads say, hey, everybody gets this much. We should. No, your delivery's not there because you haven't experienced the bumps, the roads, the manholes, the pitfalls, the lunch breaks, everything that come from Lahore to Karachi.
Yeah.
The stops. Yeah. You are not ready for that. People in other countries have. So we must get ready. So foreign grads, look, first of all, try and do something that's innovation nobody's done before. Look for problems. Okay. And I'm so thrilled when I come to LUMS, when I come to Lahore, when I go to Islamabad, I'm just thrilled and fascinated. Young people have so brilliant minds in Pakistan. So brilliant. It's amazing. This is the greatest opportunity for Pakistan to take that leap. It hasn't taken for years. Why? You know the roadmap. You see how all the other countries have done. COVID, I think, is that 3 days, I need everything 3 days before I need it. For Pakistan.
Right. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay to be in a t-shirt and a camera doing your work instead of being in an office.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It equalizes every employee across the globe. All you got to do is show up at work hard like hell. I saw it get up even today at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, do my fajr, get to work. I've already planned my day out by the time I get to work. I challenge how many entrepreneurs in Pakistan or anywhere in the world will be at the office at 7 o'clock every morning. That's a differentiator. I don't want my assistant to be there at 7 o'clock, get my cup of tea, a little bit of biscuits, and by 10:30 I start my work. The world has moved on.
Yeah.
You are spending 3 hours on your cup of tea and your biscuit, and then talk about home. No, the world works. You go to the Google campus today. You go at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you picture one at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening of the parking lot. The same cars are parked. They don't have to work 14, 15 hours.
So we're getting onto something that's very interesting and very difficult to address, So like everyone talks about how the people of this country, they're brilliant, they're resilient, the kind of stuff we've seen in our very short history and the kind of circumstances we've bounced back from. It can be in philanthropy, in social work, in ingenuity, even to some extent, like, the same people, when you port them out to the US, Canada, other places, like, they're brilliant engineers, brilliant innovators. What is this model? I don't know if I should call it bankruptcy or dilemma for us, like, and how do we fix it? Like, most importantly that, because like we've heard a lot about, how Pakistanis, diaspora moving to different places, not being very forthcoming, not being super supportive to other, people coming from Pakistan, etc., etc. I don't know if that's a valid critique. I'm sure you have a better understanding of that as well. But more importantly, how do we fix it? Like, whatever that problem is, like, all of us, like, we're coming from the same cultural, historical, regional, weather, belt. And, one is visibly outperforming the other. Why and how do we get out of it?
I wish I had a magic wand. I'll tell you what makes me different than others and what's worked for me. And that's not going to work for everyone. I grew up, I was first of all fortunate because my grandfather on both sides Northern Tapal and AM Jeewanjee are both big entrepreneurs, right? So genetically, I got the business sense.
Sure.
And God bless my Nana who did everything for us to bring me to what I am today. He actually gave me a book called by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when I was, I think, about 13 or 14 years old. He told me. And I've got a close friend named Zamindar who believes in this art of giving with me. My first cousin, or second cousin. The magic of success really starts from you within yourself. You can be in Pakistan, you can be in India, you can be in Sri Lanka, you can be in Philippines, you can be in Ukraine, in US, in Silicon Valley, in Canada, anywhere. It's the same formula. Be willing to give your time, your money, your knowledge to anyone without any expectations. Be willing to share your wealth of knowledge, time, effort, everything, without expecting that that person will give you. Zig Ziglar says, do one thing good for someone who can do in a day that can do nothing for you in return. So I call up Saad and I said, Saad, kaise ho ye TikTok? Because I know Saad's going to get me on Daftarkhwan as a speaker. I'm nice to you. But I don't do that to somebody else who comes to my door. And I'll give you stories like that. So be a giver first. If we start being givers in as a nation, look, we've got what, 47% youth? Is that the number, or 67? What's the number? Do you know? Youth of Pakistan?
I think it's a little north of 50.
A little north of 50.
Yeah.
I just can't, I'm getting excited. Yeah. Imagine if 50% of your country is youth and you're 20 million, 230 million?
I think 230. And that's just a reported number, by the way. It's probably way higher by now. Yeah.
So let's say it's 230 million. You got 120 million young people who you cannot hold back. You can push me as much as you want. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to come out. You cannot stop that youth. Will you give them the platform? Or will you give them no platform? You have, I think, in the first time in the last 20 or 30 years, have a non-corruptible leader. And I focus on non-corruptible. Somebody who cannot be corrupted. Naive, maybe not very knowledgeable, but non-corruptible. The youth have to cut behind him, stay with him, and help him make Pakistan what it needs to be. What is that? Build up companies. Don't let Saad or Zain tell you how to do it. Go do it yourself. You'll stumble, you'll fall, you'll get up and walk. You'll stumble, you'll fall, you'll get up and walk. You'll be pushed down, get up and walk. Upward and forward. All my life, in all my partnerships, in all my friendships, with everybody I come across, I don't go back. What did you do? I just move forward. Sure. You'll push me, I'll get up. One of the things that I've learned, and I live this in my life, when Saad takes his hand and wraps me, my reaction should not be, you hit me? Come here, Saad. Let me hit you back. What I should do is first think the effort it takes, and I go back. To move, lift my hand, I've got to take these muscles, my brain send a message, retract this out. Then it tells me, move this forward. And then I go ahead, Saad, hits me, your palm gets hurt too. So I'll wake up, Saad, what did I do wrong? I've got to think, what did I do wrong to get to this stage, to force you to do this? I must think. So first you have to innerly think, mere mein kya galti hai? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Do that, right? I think the youth have got to, now, youth said, why do Pakistanis not work together? Why don't we do Excel? Why do we go to Silicon Valley and make the biggest companies? I mean, look at the brand, right? Look at I mean, there's wealth created by Pakistanis in Silicon Valley, and in fact, all over the country, all over US.
Yeah.
You go to, you go to Texas, Houston, you go to Chicago, you go to New York, you go to Florida, you go to Silicon Valley, you go to Los Angeles, everywhere. Pakistanis,
Yeah.
and they are not the norm. They're the 1% of the rest of the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I pluck Saad out of there and put you in some other country, you excel. So what is that makes us that, right? What is it? What is that magic? That magic is we're not selfish. We're not only thinking about ourselves. We don't think just mera kya fayda hai isme. I think about him. I'll give you an example. We had a project to do for a delivery on Monday last week, and on Wednesday, on the week before, I've got about 300. I work with Escon Services, which I'm a very small minority partner in, and they work with us on. They have a small interest in my company, and we do a joint together. We both. It's a merger kind of. We're one company. We're going to become one big company in January, inshallah. But that company, we have, they've about 250, 300 employees in Chandigarh, India, and I've got about a set of 40, 45 in Pakistan. I would like, because the money in Pakistan is much cheaper, right? Because I have to pay, if I'm going to pay somebody in India, I'm paying him at 76 rupees to $1. When I'm paying him in Pakistan, it's 176 rupees to $1. It's a lot cheaper. Why would I not want 300 people in Pakistan? Because I had a project to deliver on Monday. I told the person on Friday. Friday, it couldn't be completed. On Monday, it wasn't delivered. So I asked, why not? He said, I couldn't finish it on Friday. So I just without even thinking about it, I said, what about Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah.
And he didn't even know. He didn't even think of that. Because selfishly, in fact, it was in Thanksgiving, which is a holiday in the US. There were a whole bunch of people saying, why don't we get Thanksgiving? I said, sure, I won't give you Qaid-e-Azam Day and I won't give you Eid. Don't look at work like that. We have got to change that in Pakistan. We've got to think more, more of the country, the nation, the people, the family, instead of me. We've got to get out of that. And this is true all over the world, by the way. I'm not just saying Pakistan, because Pakistan is not the only country. I know it's in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, when you come in, the entrepreneur works. All the entrepreneurs work 14, 15 hours. I told you, my partner was here at 10 o'clock in the night, and 4 o'clock in the morning he was there. He doesn't need to do that. But he had the delivery to make. He had to, and if you meet him, his name is Ruby Sahiwal. He's just a gem of a guy, a human being that I actually love him and love him. He works. He doesn't need to work every day, 24 hours, but he works. I get up.
So you're basically saying that. Yeah. So basically, this is like an environmental thing to some extent. Like the culture that you're kind of surrounding yourself with is basically going to have an impact on how you yourself are also delivering, right? Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah. It's a culture. Look, I grew up. I'm a Bhori Muslim. We're tradespeople, so it's very normal for us to give. I'll give you, I don't know how much time we have left, and if I can get into storytelling, but do we have a few minutes?
No, go right ahead.
So let me tell you a story. When I first came to the US, I opened up that insurance for travel insurance. And at that time, there was no internet, nothing. So I didn't know how to get to the explosive market. So I also started selling life insurance, which is probably as ugly a product as a car salesman could do, right? And I picked up my Bora directory, which had a name of about probably 40, 45 people at that time. I picked the name, I started calling them. I accidentally called on a gentleman by the name of Idris Kothari.
Of course.
Everybody in Silicon Valley knows him. Babar Saab knows him. Everybody knows him, right?
Like people here in the startup ecosystem are also very familiar with.
So I call up Idris Kothari. Pick up the phone, and this is how it goes. Okay. Hi, I'm from Karachi. I'm in the life insurance business. I'd like to talk to you about life insurance. Can I please come to your office? You know what he says? No, I also said, and I'm a Bhori. Who Bhori chong? He says, Kahana cho? He said, Karachi. He said, I'm also from Karachi. He said, please, tomorrow, 12 o'clock, see you there.
Right. Yeah.
He's giving me the first call. I get into the office and, I take a bus and get there. And by the time I get there, it's 12:15 or 12:20. Idris, if anybody knows him, anybody knows this amazing family, Mudar and Idris are both great individuals. Both the brothers. Idris lands, I open the door and he's standing on the door. He opens the door of his office and he says, hey, this is, you know what the time is? It's 20 minutes late. This is not Karachi. This is Silicon Valley. I have another meeting. I'm sorry. But, and I go from this to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I told him, I didn't know, I didn't know how the bus route. He said, you should have known.
Yeah.
You should have known. So anyway, I get there and I'm all depressed. He says, I'm sorry. Okay. And then he turns his neck around and he says, Stephanie, all our insurance policies, our business policies, all my health policies, give it to him, whatever he says. And he walks out. He teaches me a lesson, but gives me the business.
Yeah.
Fast forward, this is 1984. Fast forward to 2000, year 2000.
Okay.
Sayyid Babir Saab is visiting the Bay Area. Wasim Azhar, who's the dean of LUMS at that time, and now the professor at Stanford, his brother is subleasing a little office in my office. So you should meet this guy from Pakistan. His name is Sayyid Babar Ali. He's very entrepreneurial. And I'm at that time in the peak of my life. You go meet him. I meet him and I'm just amazed. This is a story. So I tell him, look, why don't we meet tomorrow morning? And we want to meet, you should meet Kanwal Reiki. Kanwal Reiki is the founding member of TIE, Silicon Valley.
Right.
And we meet Babar Saab in the morning and in the evening. And I tell, call up Kanwal. Kanwal, by the way, and another lesson to be learned. I called Kanwal's wife. I said, there's a Babar Saab from Pakistan who I think would be a great instigator of TIE in Pakistan. And I'd like to see if, he said, well, Kanwal is coming on a flight tonight. He lands at about 11 o'clock in the night. I'll see if he can make it 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Guess what? Kanwal Reiki, the first exit in Silicon Valley in the 80s, was a renowned name globally. Guess what? At 7 o'clock in the morning at breakfast, he was there. He was down with the flu, jet lag, who flew in at 11 o'clock in the night from India that night. Next morning, because I told him, there's a Babar Saab to meet. How many entrepreneurs, if we get a call, say, I want you to meet somebody you don't know, will come at 7 o'clock in the morning, we're down with the flu. He came there.
Yeah.
Medication, right? Anyway, so I called Idris over. I said, Idris, you should get involved in this. We agree. By the way, now Babar Saab is another gem of a guy. By the time he gets on his Lufthansa flight to Germany, he's already texting me or calling me and saying, everything done, we're doing a TIE event. I mean, just imagine the discipline of these people that are successful. Learn. And, he's just he's a gem of Pakistan, by the way. If there are gems, and there are many good people in Pakistan. Babar Saab, I had the pleasure of sitting on his board for many years. I'm on his board right now, the US board of LUMS. He's just a gem of a guy. But anyway, Idris and I are flying together. Idris says, hey, do you know these people? I know you know because you came from the industrialist family. You might know this. I said, "Kyun inka kya chahiye aapko?" He says, just come in. He writes a name down. I say, yeah, I know him. Turns out, when I land in Karachi, we're going to open up the Thai chapter in Lahore and Karachi.
Right.
Me, Kanwal Reiki, Kailash Joshi, Idris Kutari, Safi Qureshi, Mehboob Akhtar, the whole team everybody. So we're going there. He comes to and the name he was asking me was my khalas.
Okay.
Banu Milwala, my khalu actually, Fakhruddin Milwala. And another inspirational man who was giving me a lot of advice over the years. He's deceased now. And I said, Idris, why do you want to meet them? He didn't tell me. Well, it turns out Idris Kutari's when he wanted to go to States for education when he got a master's, he got some financial support without even asking from Mr. Melwala and the trust of the family. So when you help somebody, you don't know that 20 years later or 30 years later, it's going to come back and help somebody else. I am today because of a few people along the way. Idris's name is on it. There are a lot of people, and I can't even, because so many people have helped me to be where I am today. And they constantly keep helping me. I tell you what, I bet you when the trust of the Melwala Trust was giving him a check, they had no clue that I would open up the door, being 20 minutes late, he would still help me unconditionally. Unconditionally. जब आप किसी की मदद करते हो, ये नहीं देखो कि what is out for me. Don't look for what is out for me. Right? And you, abundance. I was buying my house, my first house in the US, and I walk in that evening to a guy in Fremont, California, and we're doing some investment work. I needed about $40,000 down to buy my first house in 1984 in Silicon Valley. And we're doing this talk. He says, Jeewanjee, are you related to Akbar Jeewanjee? I said, yes. He said, oh my God. And he stood up. He said, your father built my tea plant and gave me help in Africa, made me today. And then we started talking. He said, look, why instead of investing, I didn't do the loan. You buy a house. I got my down. Miracles like that happened to me, Saad, 3 days before I did. If we need something, it happens. I never miss. I'm very lucky, very lucky. Thank God to the people around me that have always helped me. My family, my friends, and people.
And like kind of listening to all of these stories, it's also kind of unfolding in my mind that sure, luck is always there, but I feel like all of this comes back to the spirit of giving that you were talking about earlier. That when you're just in that kind of frame of mind, karma, good things happen to you, and you never really know where they come from or where people come from. And it's interesting while we're still talking about people like say Babar Ali and Idris Kothari, you guys are also, I believe, I don't know how much of this you're kind of ready or willing to share, but you're also constantly thinking about Pakistan, helping the business ecosystem, the commercial ecosystem grow as well. What do you see right now as the future for Pakistan? Where do you see this going? And I believe you guys are also working on different platforms on how you could help. So what do you have in mind? What strategies do you feel like we need to focus on as local entrepreneurs on a small scale, and that you have in mind as well that you want to put in play here?
So Pakistan, and specifically Pakistan, and not South Asia as well, this is the time. You're in a crossroad. Is that 40 or 50% of youth has to make the decision which direction Pakistan will end up? Will it become the hub center of the world ecosystem, or will it continue to be the untruly or unlikely, wrongly called the terrorist nation of the world? Right? What direction? You can change it. You can change it. The opportunities available in Pakistan today are just immense. You are like China does to manufacturing, you are there to labor. You are smart. The most creative people I've found in the world are Pakistanis. Most creative. They're not copycats. They're creative when they want to be. Unfortunately, but the trouble is we spend our creativity in the wrong side. The first virus in the world,
mostly.
The first virus in the world, when was started on computers, was created by a Pakistani called Israel or something.
Right.
If the world's biggest, richest Pakistan, not most successful, I shouldn't say richest, successful Pakistan, it's the same thing in security. Ashar Aziz.
Of course.
RI, right? $4 billion. So he focused not on creating a virus, but how to protect the world from it. So same thing. Where did you focus on? ये क्या कर सकता हूँ मैं मस्ती में? Yeah, how do I make this? So that same brain that created the virus could have created security for viruses. He would have been Usher sees is bigger than Usher sees. So focus on doing right. Speak the truth, not sometimes, not mostly, but all the time. Work hard, not part of the week, all the time. I would think Pakistan would fly. Underprice yourself to what you think the value is. Don't overprice to what the world is going to give you.
Interesting.
Come out with products. The world is flattened now. COVID and the internet has really flattened the world. It doesn't matter if Saad is in Islamabad or he's in San Francisco or Canada on a beach in Mexico. You can be productive. It is really the greatest opportunity for Pakistan. The people at the top have got to invest into the youth. There's got to be a VC investment world that is start investing in people. And I think the judicial system needs to, of course, take corrections. There's got to be legal actions. If Saad does me wrong, he should be wronged. He should have to pay financially for it.
Yeah.
That has to be. But I think the youth, every time I think about 120 million people, education is available. I think a lot of people are doing a lot, on education. Online education is available. Go take it online. Get educated. Without education, you're a failure. For Pakistan, I think for the successful people, bring in more people. Give everybody a chance. 10 company mein paisa daloge, 9 kharab hogi, the one company that'll be successful will pay for the 10. Give Pakistani a chance. I think the two things that make Silicon Valley different than the rest of the world, if I want to talk to Zuckerberg tomorrow, I can pick the phone up and I will be able to get hold of him. TIE gives me that platform. TIE is a complete platform. TIE and Open is the platform too. Both organizations. TIE, I can call any entrepreneur up. They'll talk to me. On a fly, they'll talk to me. Pakistan's got to get that culture where Seth Saab has to be accessible from the non-states. Very secretary say appointment. What the hell, yeah? What's a secretary going to do? Appointment. By the way, on that token, my calendar is completely open to anybody in the world. It's called www. It's a website. www.meetzain.com. meetzain.com. If you type in answer, anybody can call me, and there's slots there. It says 5-minute call, entrepreneur. Even I've got a call for people from outside USA.
Right.
So here's one thing that I learned and I'm saying to the elder group that's part of this group. Here's how I remember how many things used to happen in Pakistan. I hope they've changed. That the parents have to teach their children certain cultures and limitations and what's to be done. I'll give you a minute saying. Phone rings. I pick up. You're calling, okay? Phone rings.
Sure.
Hello? And I'm my son. I'm not me, okay?
Sure.
Hello? Ji Uncle Saad. Ji Zain, Daddy? Ji, ek minute hold kare. Zain, Daddy, are you at home? It's Saad Uncle. Uncle, he's not at home. Yeah. What are we doing to teaching our children that it's okay to do this?
Yeah. It's the little things, right? Like it's the little things that really define what your values are as an individual, and then that kind of manifests itself. How you work, how you operate, what kind of a bureaucrat or a judge or a politician you are at the end of the day. All of these things kind of really tend to translate.
And you have right now, mashallah. You have the leadership, and he's getting struggles right now. He's struggling, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should ask you to also make a few calls to your high school friends and ask them to stand down. But but I think that's going to be a bit difficult at this point in time. Then this has been such an interesting, and it's just always talking to you is such a exciting storytelling kind of a session. I hate to kind of, be the party pooper and kind of cut this off, but it's it's. I feel like a couple of the things that I would really take away from this session and from our conversations from before. One is definitely, the spirit of giving, and we keep coming back to that because fundamentally, I like the more I speak to you, the more clearer clearer it is in my mind that what you call luck, it's definitely, there's something at play there, but like a lot of that is you're kind of rigging the system in your favor by having this spirit of giving because you're just kind of generating so much goodwill around you that naturally those people are also kind of coming back to you and making themselves and their resources and their people and their network available to you when you need it and sometimes 3 days before you need it. And that's super exciting, and that's something that kind of also fills you with this kind of positive energy, this solution oriented kind of a mindset rather than kind of sitting around and crying and cribbing about how this is wrong and that's wrong. But I also feel like the second thing is that then eventually translates into this culture or this environment where you can, kind of transplant anyone from anywhere in the world, like told us all these stories from the valley, and these guys who made it out from here and from all over the world and made it a hotbed for like innovation and wealth creation and like technology and moonshots and all of that simply because those types of things were happening around them and people were being open-hearted and open-minded and constantly looking at newer and newer solutions rather than spending their energies into kind of figuring out what the problems are and kind of delving on that too much. But lots to learn. Very very interesting, very inspiring. Usually this is the time where we kind of go to our comments and questions and take a few questions from people who've logged in. But honestly, like all I see in the comments, and I think you can see them as well, is just like people raving about you and your story. And so I really feel like we should close this on a high note. Thank you so very much for taking out the time. It's been a huge pleasure, and we're actually really excited and looking forward to hosting you when you're in Pakistan in February, inshallah.
Inshallah, February or March, there's this thing, I don't know if you heard called COVID. So
Yeah, this little thing. Yeah.
I do want to, on a closing note, just make sure that anybody needs any help at all, whether it be marketing, opening up an enterprise in the US, any connections you need in Silicon Valley, please, everybody, go on my LinkedIn and friend me. I'm 5'4" and ugly like crap, and yet I've got 20,000 members as friends, and these people will help you. Please join my LinkedIn and need any help at all. Of any time you want to chat with me, I get up at, like I said, at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm available after Fajr to talk to anybody till I start my day as well. So please reach out. And to the others who have already are successful in Pakistan, please make yourself available for your wisdom, for your knowledge, and for your wealth. Go ahead, Saad. Thanks. Saad,
Fantastic.
by the way, every time I talk to you, I envy myself because I think you are living in a golden opportunity time. Somehow your dimples keep smiling, so keep that smile forever. And all this work that so many good people in Pakistan are doing for the youth, my hats off to all of you. Because it's very hard work helping people. And
Thank you.
work. And all you guys, everybody, all the organizations in Pakistan are doing. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Right. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you very soon
Inshallah.
here. And thank you all for joining us today. You can find this video available online on YouTube and Facebook. So catch it whenever you're free, share it with your friends, and hopefully we'll try to get some more time with Zain when he's in town early next year. So, we'll arrange something. And we'll also put the link for your online calendar so that, if someone wants to book a time and get some consultation and, kind of pick your brain on something, they should feel free to do so as well. thank you all once again. Thank you once again, Zain, and let's sign off here. Yeah.
Allah Hafiz. Stay
Allah
safe.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.